Okay, let's look at perimeter. So perimeter, let's take the definition first before we begin to derive the various formulas. So perimeter is simply the distance measured round a shape. Is the distance measured round a given shape. That's what perimeter is. So perimeter is the distance measured around a given shape. Alright, so when we get a shape, for instance, if we have a triangle that measures A, B, and C. Alright, so let's say from this point to this point is A, cm, or meter, or whatever, whichever unit of measurement. Then from that point to here is B, cm, and then from this point to this point is C, cm. The perimeter would be the distance A plus distance B plus the distance C. So that's what perimeter really means, just the distance measured around any given shape. It might be a regular shape or an irregular shape. What do I mean by irregular shape? Say we have a shape that does not have a definite pattern, right? So when we take maybe by the help of a thread and then we measure around this shape, whatever we get, the distance we get is what we call the perimeter of this shape. While for a regular shape, we may have, say, a square or a rectangle. Alright, so when we get the distance around this shape, that's what we call perimeter. So for this is just the first part of this video, or rather on this topic, we are going to talk about perimeter. So for this part one, we're going to be deriving the formulas. So we're not going to solve questions as it were. We just want to derive the formulas. So in the part 2 of this same topic, we're now going to use the formulas we've derived to solve various questions. And mind you, not all the shapes have a definite formula for their perimeter. The shapes that we have the formula for are mostly regular shapes. Alright, so we have the rectangle, the square, the circle. So let's start from a rectangle. So how do we derive the formula to calculate the perimeter of a rectangle? Now let's start with what we know. A rectangle has two sides that are parallel and equal. The two parallel opposite sides are equal. So if this is the length, this will also be what? The length, and they should be equal. While these other sides are the breadth or the width, whichever one you want to call it. You can call it the width, you can call it the breadth. Now, what will be the perimeter? Of course, just like we said that perimeter is the distance measured around the shape. So when we start, say, from this point, we'll measure up to this point, and that's the length. So we have the length. We measure from that point to this point. That's plus the breadth plus the length again, then plus the breadth. So you see that the perimeter would be equal to, we have 2 length plus 2 breadth. Now since 2 is common, we just factorize. So our formula would be 2 bracket L plus B, dividing both sides or dividing the expression by 2. So this would be the formula to calculate the perimeter of any rectangle. So provided it's a rectangle, if you use this formula 2 brackets L plus B, you're going to get the answer. This is because a rectangle is a regular shape and its properties remains constant. The two opposite parallel sides must be equal, and that's the basis for this formula. Alright, the next shape we're going to solve is the perimeter of a square. So what do we know about a square? A square is a rectangle in which all the sides are equal, right? So since all the sides are equal, if we call this side L, all the other sides are also going to be what? Side L, provided that they are all equal. Now, anytime we are dealing with shapes, you notice these markings on the side lines. Now you see we have one mark each on the square. This is suggesting the fact that all the sides are equal. Whereas in the rectangle we saw previously, you see the sides that were equal, for instance the length size, we use 2 marking for them, and then the breadth one marking, showing that these 2 sides are equal, while these 2 sides are equal. So please always take notes anytime you're dealing with shapes. Take notes of the markings there, right? They're going to prove to be very useful. Okay, so this perimeter is very simple. we're just going to add the distance measured around the shape. So you see the perimeter is going to give us 4L. So this is the formula to calculate the perimeter of a square. So given any square, we're going to use this formula to get the perimeter. Alright, the last shape we're going to look at in this first part is the perimeter of a circle. A circle is a round shape, alright, that has a center. So let's say we have this as our circle. It's going to have a center. Now let's talk about some parts of a circle. Now, a line that joins one circumference of the circle to another, a line that goes from one circumference of a circle, one point on the circumference of the circle to another, is called a chord. So this line here would be called what? A chord. Whereas a chord that goes through the center of the circle, alright? A chord that goes through the center of the circle is called a diameter. So let me specify the center. Let's say that this is the center of the circle. This line that goes from one end of the circle to another, passing through the center, is called the diameter of the circle. So you can say that the diameter is a chord, right, that goes through the center of the circle. Now half of the diameter is radius. So from this center to this part, alright, is a radius. Then from this center to this part is also a radius. So let's begin to establish some facts. So the first fact there is that 2 radii will make 1 diameter, right? The plural of radius is radii. So 2 radii will make 1 diameter. Invariably, if we make r the sort of the formula, I discover that r is equal to diameter divided by 2. So these are 2 formulas you need to know. So whenever you want to find the diameter of a circle when you're given the radius, just multiply the radius by 2, and when you're given the diameter, you want to get the radius, divide the diameter by 2. Alright, so how do we derive the perimeter of a circle? Now one thing you need to note is the perimeter of a circle is often regarded as the circumference. That should be F before A. The circumference of the circle. Alright, so when we say the circumference of the circle, what we simply mean is the perimeter of that circle. So the circumference of the circle. Now how do we derive it? Now, provided any circle at all, so you can try this at home, get any circle of which has different circle of different diameter. Now when you get the distance around the circle, maybe since it's a curved or round shape, you can maybe do that with the help of a thread. So get a thread, take the thread around the circle, and then stretch the thread back, and then measure the distance with the help of a ruler. So that will be the circumference, right, or the perimeter. Remember, the perimeter is something as circumference. So every time we divide any circle whatsoever, anytime we divide the circumference of that circle by the diameter, we come to realize that we are always going to get a value that is approximately equal to 22/7 or 3.1457, in decimal. So anytime, provided any circle of any given diameter, when you divide the circumference of that circle by the diameter of that circle, you're always going to get a value that's approximately equal to 22/7. So since this 22/7 is a constant, we decided to call it the name pi. So in general, what I mean is, anytime we get the circumference of a circle and we divide it by what? The diameter of that circle, we're always going to get a constant, which is 22/7, which we can denote as pi. So from this place, we can now make circumference the subject of the formula when we cross multiply. So we're going to use C for circumference now. So you see that we have C is equal to pi times the diameter. So this is the formula for the circumference of a circle. But recall that diameter, get your attention to this point. Recall that diameter is equal to 2 radii. So we can replace diameter with 2r and then have another formula. Circumference is also given by 2 pi r. Now the 2r there is just replacing the diameter, since 2 radii will give us 1 diameter. So that's the formula we can use to get the perimeter of a circle. So in summary, the perimeter of a rectangle is given by 2 brackets L plus B. Perimeter of a square, so let's call this subscript R, subscript S. Perimeter of a square is 4L, and then the perimeter of a circle, which is known as the circumference of the circle, is pi d, or 2 pi r. Right, so for triangles or trapezium or parallelogram, please, for information, a parallelogram has the same perimeter as a rectangle, since the opposite sides of a parallelogram are equal. So the perimeter is still 2 brackets L plus B. And also a rhombus has the same perimeter with that of a square, since all the sides of a rhombus are equal. So L. So the perimeter of a rhombus is still going to be 4L. So, but for that of triangle or trapezium, this is a trapezium. Why this what? A triangle. There is no definite formula for calculating the perimeter. When you're given the triangle, you just get the distance around the triangle and that will be the perimeter. So that is it for this part. In the next part of this topic, we are going to use these formulas we've derived to solve various questions on perimeter, even until getting the perimeter of compound shapes. That means these 2 or more shapes joined together, and then we get the perimeter. Share the video, and if you've not subscribed, please do well to do that. And God bless us.